once I got that pad on there, I really can't tell the difference between the two sides, between this side and this side, so I don't think I'm going to undo the weld on that. I can live with that. I have a feeling that's going to be the least of our worries. I don't have a pattern for this one. I have a few scraps left, but I don't have a pattern. So I pulled the passenger side out, and sadly it's in decent shape, but the vinyl has started to shrink as it does and lose its elasticity, and all the stitching has dry rotted and popped out. So we're going to take that apart and have a pattern for that, and I'm just going to go ahead and sew this one and get it done, so I kind of get a feel for how it's sewing. I'll have to make my own piping. Won't be able to reuse that. And then behind the seat is this stuff, and I bought this for $1. Quite a bit of it here. So that should be enough to do those two seats. And the passenger seat does not fold forward like the driver's side. The entire seat tips forward. I did not order new horsehair for these. They feel pretty good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We may actually be able to reuse some of that. Depends on how powdery it is. That one probably not so much. So let me get this cover off, and we'll get that laid out and get a pattern going. And that way we'll be able to get started on that one. I'll go ahead and oil up. Whoops, sorry. Once I get it off, we'll oil it up pretty good too. It's a shame because the original seat. Can't drive with it like that though, can we? Yeah, it's gonna be a pain. I did that first little bit right there. I thought it was gonna be easy. Hey. I think I figured out the trick. Just pull on it. Yeah, I'm sure those fibers are fine. They're not dry rotted at all. Did I get a real thread? Yeah, that looks pretty good, don't it? Wonder if anybody's home. Been evicted. I don't know how most car manufacturers do it, but Volkswagen does this little, if I can get this picture, bold under tab with a bar that runs through here. So there's a bar, a little piece of steel, runs inside there, and it just tucks under. It's a little tabs. You gotta take it off. You're gonna have to straighten those out and then go down and slide those off. These are the guys. Probably I'm going to take this off and replace it. It's pretty bad. Dirty. Yeah. Probably should have put a mask on. Oh, it smells like cat pee. Mice pee. Yeah. Yuck, yuck. But, get it off of there. A few mud dauber nests down inside I'll have to clean up. Here's one. Not too bad. Watch where I'm walking. So basically go through and do the same thing we did to the other one. Got a little place there that's torn. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Look at that. Fixed. Couple condition issues right here. I'm not gonna buy a new pad though. I'm gonna go and just put 2 layers of the gray stuff on it. I think it'll be fine. Back looks great. I mean, this on the corners looks as good as that one I just bought. So there's what we got to work with. Kind of gnarly looking, but it's a pattern. I am not going to do the tucks. So I'm just going to sew it straight. I'm not going to do those. Too much of a pain. And really they don't change the look of it that much. Alright. Let's get that cleaned up. Get it soaking in some oil. And then go inside and get started on the cover. Pretty happy with the way it looks, actually. Worst spots right here. Must have had a nest or something in there. Because this would have been the part of the car that's inside. So it must have been, somebody's getting upset in there. Must have been something built a little home there. Gotta take care of that. The smell of mouse pee would never have given that away. Partly why I wanted to get this off of here. And I'll probably actually put a couple coffee packets or something up under here. Absorb some of that smell. It's not terrible, but coffee grounds absorb stains and smells really well. Alright. To work, to work. That is about as good as it's gonna get. So. And again, it's not perfect. The only part of this seat that will show is right here. That's it. That's the only part that'll show. Everything else will be covered. So I've gone over it with linseed oil. And by tomorrow that should be in pretty good shape. So the two sides that'll show are this one and that other one. I went ahead and got everything else with oil. Just helps preserve it, keeps it from rusting a little bit more, but that's what we're dealing with. Now, let's move to this pile and get going on sorting that out and making a pattern. I did manage to find a few pieces that I had from the original driver's seat, so I'll be able to use a couple of those. I don't have the seat pad or the seat back pointing with my foot there, but it's what we have to work with. So we will make it up as we go. And as to all of these pieces, I've labeled them all so that I don't forget what goes where. And they're pretty gnarly, pretty dirty, pretty cruddy. So I think probably what I'll do first is make a pattern just on a heavyweight like cardstock, so that I'm not putting this nasty stuff onto new fabric and getting it all cruddy. So that's where we're headed next, is to pattern make and hopefully come up with some sort of seat cover here in the next couple hours. Well, here it is. I have the bottom section pretty much the way I'm gonna leave it, and happy with the way that turned out. Too bad for using the cushions that were basically already pretty much destroyed. Take that back, and this is what we have on the kind of the sides of it. You can see that very well or not. Turn that towards the light. I have not hammered down the little angle pieces yet. So this is what we have for that. I also have not gone around and tightened and pulled in, like this area here will pull in. I wouldn't want it any tighter, it's pretty tight. But that's good. And then the top one I have just stapled. Oops. I have just stapled this together. It's not sewed yet. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's going to be just fine. Looks good. They're tired. Been up for about 21 hours, something like that. And it's pretty early in the evening, but I am just beat up. So I think I'm going to call it an evening. Yeah, that'll work. It's not perfect by any means, but I think that will work just fine. Looks a heck of a lot better than it did before. Piping was kind of a bear. So that one's all pieced together, the top panel. I just have to sew it and get the bottom locking piece in. There's a piece that locks in right here. There is a piece of cardboard that I'll have to sew in. I don't know if that's showing up on the camera or not. There's a slot in there that the piece will actually be sewed in, and it'll slide up in there. I just need to cut a piece of cardboard that's the width of this right here, so that when it goes in, it doesn't want to pull out when it has a little tension on it. And that's the piece that comes from underneath and locks in. Top piece has these little guys. So, I'm going to call it quits for this evening, but I'm pretty happy with that. Not too bad for... Why is the camera not flipping? There we go. No! Turn it completely upside down. Not too bad for a non-professional. Get you the whole spin around there. Just thought I'd do a quick little video of the seat in the bus and kind of point out a few things I think I might change. I think the base, the bottom of it, looks really, really good. I'm very happy with how that turned out. Fits nice, looks clean. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in, and you can see it, I think, pretty well in the video, is there's just some kind of rippling, and that's because I did not replace that seat pad. I left that as the original, and you can see where kind of the springs are coming through there, and you can see it if you step back. I did put a piece of that felted blue-gray liner stuff in there, and I don't know if that's wrinkling up or what's happening, so I may actually take this side, kind of unattach it and peel it back and take a look back there and pull on that and see if I can tug it a little bit. I don't know, or I could put another layer of that blue felt gray stuff, whatever it's called, sound deadener in there. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I think it looks pretty good. I don't think I could do really any better given what I had to work with. The other one's going to be a little heftier challenge, just based on the fact I don't have a pattern to work off of. But it's close to the back. The back's a little darker. The back has a little more black in it, but I believe also that it has darkened over the years. We did get about 6 to 8 inches of snow yesterday, which, you know, it's summer in Indiana, so what do you expect? But that has also snowed in here on the bus, so I may have to get a broom, sweep some of that out of here. So yeah, let me get that taken care of, and we will head in, and I'll try and get started on the driver's side. You know, there's a few little points where I could go back and redo it, but I think all in all it looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So we'll call it, I'm going to let this sit on here like this for a couple days and see if that kind of settles down any at all, and if not, we'll pull it back out and see what I can do with that. I just thought I'd mention that I have the pattern for that seat, if someone is interested in that, and I've got the driver's seat now made into a pattern as well. I'm happy to share that. If you think it will help you, please just send me a message or a comment in the section down below, and we will make arrangements to get you a set of those. If somebody wants to pay shipping, I'm happy to send those. They may not be exact, but they're pretty dang close, I think. Obviously I haven't put the driver's one together yet, but I'm getting ready to go do that now, and we will know very shortly if that is going to work or not. There aren't a whole lot of pieces to it. The back on the bus does have a back piece that goes over the back because you fold the seat down, so that has a covering over it. Basically, the seat part you sit in, the back two back sides because you got one your back is on, and then the back covering of the seat. You have 3 pieces for the front and 3 pieces for the top strip part on the back of the seat. So it's a pretty simple construction. You'll just need to make piping. I don't have a pattern for that. That's pretty easy to do. 2-inch wide strip, and you run cord, just some sort of, I use cording, that is this stuff. I don't have a diameter on that, but it's not a 1/4 inch, it's pretty narrow. Just nylon or some cotton cord works fine too. I just run a strip of that down and fold it in a 2-inch strip. You will need a zipper foot. If you're not familiar with sewing, that's one of the things that you will need. And basically what that allows you to do is run your needle very, very close, as opposed to something like that, where one of the legs gets really, really close to your bump, if you will. So when I'm sewing that, I'll try to get a video of that here in a second, but you can run the fabric, you can run your cord right up to the edge of your needle, and that makes for a very, very tight stitch. So you'll want one where the arm is onto the inside of the machine, so that you can have the bulk of your fabric out here rather than trying to run it through the throat of your machine. I did do that on the passenger side. I ran it through the throat because that was the only presser foot I had at the time. This is an old industrial machine. It's an AE model, Singer, single stitch, no backup. The really cool thing about this machine is it has a knee lever presser foot, so you can sit under there and control the up down of the foot with your knee, and so that way you can have both hands free to control your fabric. A lot of times usually big bulky items are going through here. So if you're going to do this on your own, a regular machine will do it. You just need a machine that can take it. I would not recommend anything other than a metal shaft machine. It's quite a bit of thickness. I think the most that you're running through at one time is about 6 thicknesses of vinyl. But you will need a Teflon presser foot, whichever one you choose to use. I prefer to run my bulk on the outside of my machine. It makes it a lot easier, but I did sew an entire tent trailer canvas with running it through the throat, and it worked fine. You just have to manipulate it a little bit more, and it makes it a little bit harder. You can only sew about a foot at a time, and then you've got to readjust things. But if you have something like this and a setup like this works out really great. I have used this already, and I love it. I probably won't ever use my old one again. I did go ahead and get one that goes the opposite way, that is Teflon. And then I got this little guy here that has the slit in the middle, but the legs on each side are a lot skinnier than something like this guy. So let's get started on making some piping. To maybe hopefully show what I mean by the presser foot that gets kind of close. I got the camera sitting real close to where my hands need to be, so if I bump you, I apologize. Up, see what I mean? Caught in the string there. So I can get you positioned right. Okay, so what is happening? You can see I have my cord inside, and my 1.5 inch, I think I said 2 inches earlier. I used 1.5 inches because that's the fabric I had. It was convenient. My 1.5 inch strip with my cord inside. Vinyl wants to walk a little bit, so you kind of have to overcompensate for that walk. So when I'm lining this up, I'm taking the top piece and lining it up past where I actually want it to end up, if that makes sense. Alright, let's see what we can do with this here. So you can see how that's allowing that needle to ride right along. Hopefully that's in focus. right along that cording, right along that bead. Lets me get really close to it. It makes it really easy. And the Teflon allows it to just slide over the vinyl. If you try and sew this with a regular presser foot, it's going to bunch like this when it goes under, because it's actually getting traction and not sliding against the vinyl. So you want to use a Teflon zipper presser foot if you want to do any type of cording or edging or anything like this. It makes it a lot easier. So you want to sew these two pieces facing, so that when you basically undo it, you get the piping to the inside of these two pieces. So we're going to put like side or exposed side out. And then I found that the easiest way to do this, cut your piping. I just trimmed it down so it was even on both sides. And I can use that distance, I just guesstimated, but I'm using this distance as my inseam, this seam that we're making on the inside of the garment in this case. A seat pad or a seat cushion. And we got to go around this little curve here and do some kind of funky stuff, keeping it straight and all of that. I have found the easiest way to do that. Like I said, I've trimmed that up so those pieces all match up on the edge. And then you just go around with a stapler and staple it. And when you get to the turns, I have found that it's a little bit easier if you just kind of lift up and flex it into shape. And then we'll sew around that edge. We're going to again use that presser foot that comes right up to the edge of this cord. And we should be able to make a pretty good looking piece. When we get done, shut this machine off, some of the noise shut off. This is what we're going to have, something that looks like this. So if I were to stand that up, you can see it's just that seat pad turned wrong side out, essentially. And if you look inside, we have our piping turned the correct way. But a staple works really well when you're getting into a tight area like this, where it's difficult to pin, and that's a really tight turn. That's really hard to pin that. So it's a lot nicer if you can use a staple. I'm seeing I didn't catch that piece there. I'll have to go back in and put another one in there. It makes this line a lot easier to catch than if you were to pin that. And plus with vinyl, straight pin leaves so much of a hole that it's sometimes kind of visible after you've completed the project. So our stitch line will basically be bring those two pieces so that that looks like that, rather than having this gap. So let me fix that little spot there, and we'll go along and we're going to run that needle just like we did before. Like I said, we got the piping in there, so it's going to sit right against that cord. It's kind of hard to see that, but it's going to sit right against that, and hopefully make this really good and tight. Hopefully not too tight. You can't win every time. I don't know if that's showing up or not, but that is a bent needle. Came down on a staple. That is one of the things. If you staple to the outside, you have a pretty good chance of not hitting one. I was right on a really tight turn, and came down on a staple. You're going to know it. Fortunately, with this machine, that doesn't happen very often. It'll just push it to the side. But I was making this turn on the opposite side, and got into one of those really tight ones right there. So I'm going to change that out and finish. I've only got this, little 2-inch spot to do, and then it's all together. And we'll be able to put that on, take a look at it, and see what we've got. Hopefully, I have some more of those denim or leather needles. Either one will work. I've been using a leather needle. And the nice thing about a leather needle, see if I can show you that, it has a little vein. Some pump just ticked on. Has a little vein on it know if that's showing up in the light or not. That will allow the thread to not bind and puncture through. It gives space for the thread to sit so that when it goes down into the leather, it's not ripping it every time it comes up and down in the machine. So let me go see if I've hopefully have another one of those. Let's see if I can read the numbers on it. I was going to tell you what it was exactly. Yeah, I think it's a 125 is the needle size, and can't really tell what that says, but we'll hunt one of those down and see if we can find another one and finish this one up. Hey everybody, got the seats in the bus, and this is the best I can do given the materials that I'm working with, and I think I'm happy with the way they turned out. I think they look pretty good. Certainly look better than what was in there before. And the grain of that isn't showing up as strong as the back seat does, and they're not as dark as the back seat. But I can live with that. Those are going to be just fine. I think they look pretty good. Pretty happy with how those turned out. And now I've moved on to the back one. I need to go back and cut my strings off on the bottom there, but that's what the back of it looks like. I got some strings on that one there to cut off too. Yeah, happy with that. That looks good. And then if you remember, I had this tool bag with these not so less than stellar looking hooks that hung right there. And I want to do something that looks a little classier. Oh, by the way, these holes and where that seat was banging against the rail there, you know what goes there? Because it took me a while to figure out what went there. Volkswagen doesn't mess up. It had little stoppers there. This truck just didn't have them. But I wanted to do something different with that tool bag. So I've taken a piece of PVC pipe and I've sewn it half pipe, sewn it into this pocket here, and then put a piece of inner tube, sewed it on the back. And then my plan is to hook this around the back there. See if I can get that picture through the window. I don't know if that'll show up or not. Hook that around there, and when it has pressure in it, it will actually stay put. So let me see if I can demonstrate that at all. The camera's probably not going to be able to go high enough there. So I've got it hooked on the back side. If I pull on that, I can pull on that really hard. I'm probably putting 20-30 pounds of pressure on that, and it's not pulling off. So I need to just figure out what I want in this. Got basically just, you know, your basics to keep a Volkswagen going. I'm getting a battery light blinking at me, so I'm gonna have to go in and charge this. But you know, I'm gonna need a pair of pliers, a screwdriver, ink pens, you know, door panel screws, zip ties, a test light. So those kind of things we'll have to work a pocket for on each of those things for that. But I think that's gonna look pretty good. Let me just go around and see if I can get a picture of what it looks like on the back side here. Again, the camera. So it's just PVC pipe tucked up under there. I think that's going to work out just fine. So let me figure out what pockets I need. You know, I'm going to have to go along and set that in there and then figure out how I'm going to strap the cord to it and that kind of thing. And get those sewed on, and I'll put you on the charge and let you charge while I'm doing that, and we'll go from there. Well, that looks a little tidier and cleaner and neater. The one I had in here before was a little bit bulky. It stuck out, so it would stick out to about right here. And where we are now, we're not sticking out that far. It's just neater and tidier. And then I'm in the middle of trying to come up with some sort of a cup holder. And this is a reflector off of an old trailer reflector housing. It's pretty crusty and rusty, but I think it'll look pretty cool. Spray paint it black. And I'll put a rubber stopper down here on this end so that doesn't tear it up. It's just welded to a washer, the one that runs underneath the seat belt bracket, and then a piece of steel rod run to the reflector. It's pretty nice. It's in a pretty good spot when you're sitting in the seat. Had to leave room. Can you tell I welded with that cup? I don't know if that's showing up or not. Nice, huh? Lucky I didn't have a fire there. Had to leave it in there to see where it needed to be. But I took the seat belt up. Sorry for the shaky cam here. And figured out where that kind of needed to be. And I get my, can't do it one-handed. Get my fat hind end in there. Secured there. So that kind of shows you where that'll pull this direction. There should be plenty of space left to clear for my coffee cup holder. But as to this thing, the little cubby caddy, the cool thing about it is you can just unclip it, take it with you if you want to work on the truck. It works by counter pressure, so you can just take it and hang it on the back of the tailgate or wherever you're going to be working. So it works out really well. Just hope it doesn't bounce around when you're driving. I don't think it will. We'll find out. And then I just ran a piece of bungee through here and put a piece of heat shrink with some copper screws. I thought that was a nice touch. Flashlight holder at the bottom. Extra door screws and drywall mount, so if one of them wallers their way out. Inside there, I don't know if you can see that or not, those pliers actually fit down into a little pocket that holds them, and then the snap up here just holds them from flopping. So I'm pretty happy with that. In here is fuses and a spark plug gap setter. That's my skull pack. I do need to throw a set of feeler gauges in there. I didn't make a pocket for those. There's plenty of space right here for those if I decide that I need to make a pocket for those. But I think that looks pretty good. A lot cleaner, tidier. Just hope it doesn't bounce around too much. Headed down the highway. We'll find out in a few weeks. Let it warm up just a little bit. But I think this evening I will probably sand this down and paint it and put a little, come up with some kind of little stopper or something to put on there. I would have not even put that because I'm probably only going to ever have a grande size Starbucks cup in there. Well, my water bottle will fit in here too, but in case I put a bigger cup in there, I didn't want to put a ton of pressure on it, so that should work out nice. I like it. Alright, we'll get to the back seat on the passenger side, sewing that, and I'll turn you back on when we're done.